Greetings, people of the interwebs. If you can hear me and see me, sure looks like I can hear and see myself, though there's a huge delay of what I see on YouTube versus where I actually am in real time. Hey, Turkey Trail Honeybee Farm, Georgia. That's like the longest username ever, but I always know who you are when you say something. How are you? Welcome to you. Dennis Brialt, Joey Van Ostrand. I got my coffee. And what I think turned out to be a pretty decent night's sleep. Despite the fact it's going on 3 o'clock in the afternoon where I am. But I was up late editing videos and trying to get caught up, and I should be finally caught up to where I want to be here by the end of the day today. And, it is raining here in my part of the world today, or at least it did overnight and this morning, so I don't have to go out and water my garden. So God has picked up the tab for the water bill today. Pardon me. So I got one more video that I got to edit this afternoon, and I've got to upload 5 of them. Then I'm only going to have one that I need to do next week, and then after that I'm on vacation, and there will be plenty of content ready to go for when I am gone, and I am not going to be anywhere near a camera or anything at all. So. Oh, Joey has a beautiful little 11-month-old. Congratulations, I didn't know that. Turkey Trail Bee Farm, Georgia says, should we make kids take music lessons, piano, guitar, or other, maybe singing? Yeah, man, absolutely. I'm all for. I'm all for anybody, taking music lessons, learning to play an instrument. Whether or not they want to get into this for a living, that's an entirely different discussion. But yeah, absolutely, I encourage anybody to learn to play an instrument. I was not exactly, I wasn't, I played sports too, but I wasn't a great athlete by any means. And, I loved playing baseball, and I was a decent baseball player. But and I still play golf today pretty religiously, as some of you probably know. But I've never been I've never been a great athlete. So if you have a child that's not interested in sports, see if they have an interest in music. Get them interested in something. Who else has joined the soiree here? Ricky Compton says, hey everyone, hot here in Michigan. Paul Von Tyrant. Sweet Mercy 69 from Southern Louisiana. Cheers. Cheers from Central Indiana. Got an Epiphone. Tommy Thayer Electric Blue Les Paul came pretty much set up, better than the 2 Gibsons I just bought 3 weeks ago. Man, I am a diehard Kiss fan. I love Kiss. I love Tommy Thayer, but I've got a serious bone to pick with him. if I ever get the chance to meet him in person. And when I was at Guitar Center, a guy came in on a Saturday afternoon. There was a Kiss convention in town that weekend, and he came in specifically to buy a black Gibson Explorer. And he bought the black Gibson Explorer specifically to take it down to the Kiss convention and get Tommy Thayer to autograph it. He takes it up to Tommy, says, "Hey, check out my guitar. I'd love it if you sign it." And Tommy says, "You mean you're not going to wait until my signature model comes out?" Which didn't come out for years after that. And so the guy said, "Oh, yeah, I guess I should do that." And he brought the guitar back the next day. I told the Gibson rep about that one, several years later, and he wasn't real happy about that either. So, yeah. So what started out as a pretty decent sale for me that day turned out to be a huge waste of my time. And somebody got whoever it did end up buying that guitar got one with a little bit more wear on it than than it probably should have. Hey, there's Zoe. Dennis Brielle says, "I'm good at drinking beer. I was good at drinking beer one day as well, but I don't necessarily encourage teaching our children to be good at drinking beer. That's let them develop that skill on their own." Charles 75N is here. Good afternoon to you. Zoe, come here. Come here. Come here. Calm down. You and I both know you're barking at nothing. You're barking at nothing. You were barking at nothing. Yeah. I know that's your job, but I'm gonna go get your bed so you can lay down next to me. Be right back, guys. Lay down. Lay down. Go, lay down. All right. Let's see if she's not going to behave, or at least not listen to me do that. All right. Well, Zoe will make a guest appearance here later on, I'm sure. Any new pedals under $200 that make you say wow? Well, define new, as in like just recently came out. Off the top, I mean, as far as like was just recently released, nothing comes to mind. But I mean, I can think of plenty of pedals that I have under $200 I really like. The Boss Wazacraft Metal Zone comes to mind. God, Satanist Distortion. Satanist Distortion isn't new, but a lot of the world just recently discovered it because Ola England did a quick demo of it on his Will It Chug series. According to Tony and Mark, the guys that designed it, Mark told me, Ola did that video like 11 months after Tony handed him the pedal at NAMM. But he got it done. So, it's just depends on what you're looking for. Just depends on what you're looking for. I've actually had several pedals show up here this week. This one being the newest, which is not anything exotic by any means. It's a Boss BD2, but there's a method to my madness of why I bought that, and it's going to be used and it's going to be featured in a few different videos here. But that one's $100, and one of the most versatile pedals out there. For like overdrive and distortion anyway. It's one of the few pedals that I can think of that actually does overdrive and distortion both really well. So Giles is here. Says struggling with my Floyd Rose while watching. Yeah, they can. Floyd Rose tremolos can be frustrating if you're not used to them. Took me a long time to figure them out. Took me a long time, but and I still get stumped every now and again. But I've gotten to the point I don't need to pay somebody to set mine up anymore. Anytime I go to change strings or even change tunings. Don't exactly enjoy working on them, but I know how to do it. Sweet Mercy 69 says, have any input on JHS pedals? Have Wild Overdrive and wanted to try out the Mojo Mojo. Saw Paul Gilbert has it on his board, if not the custom one they made for him. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, JHS make fantastic pedals. Josh Scott is... he's been known to shoot his mouth off about some things outside the political, or outside the outside the guitar and pedal world that got him in trouble. Though that was a while ago now. But no, he's actually a genius. He's as big of a pedal geek as there is. I've learned a lot about that guy with. Ever since he launched his YouTube channel, and his channel grew fast. I mean, real fast. I first noticed it. I think I first saw his videos for the first time probably less than a year ago, when he was at 20, 30, 40,000 subscribers. And I think now he's well over 100. So, his channel really took off. He's got a lot of knowledge. He's a guy. He's like Brian Wampler. He knows all the ins and outs of the circuitry, and all the really really geeky stuff that I don't get that much into all the circuitry. I mean, I care about how it sounds and value and used market kind of stuff, and collectability if it applies. So but most importantly, how it sounds is my biggest thing. But yeah, he's got some great pedals. I don't own any JHS pedals. A good friend of mine says that the Andy Timmons distortion is the best distortion pedal that he's ever owned, and best one on the planet. And this is a buddy of mine that is really really picky about. God. When I was at Guitar Center, that guy used to rifle through Marshalls and distortions and overdrives and all kinds of stuff. And he's been actually sticking with the Andy Timmons pedal for quite a while now. So I really want to hear that one. Says it's the best Marshall in a box. So yeah, go JHS. I don't have any, but I'd like to. Let's see. Let me see how far back I've fallen in the chat here. Yeah, hey, there's 23 of you guys hanging out here right now. Christian the Duke has joined the soiree. Elsewhere, Savinity Guitars. David Ireland says, say hi to the raccoon. Oh, okay. Dennis Brial says that Highwind was nice. Yeah, actually, there's one, and a newer pedal for under $200. Highwind amplification, the Direwolf overdrive. That the video for that one just went up here. Was it Sunday? Here in the last week. That's a cool pedal. That's a killer overdrive. Joey Van Ostrin says, I have the Butthole Burner pedal on pre-order. Just got an Ibanez Weeping Demon. Best wah I've ever used. Ibanez Weeping Demon. I've been plugging that one forever. I've got 3 of them. I love that pedal so much. But the butthole burner, I don't know what that is. I'm not gonna Google it either because I know what's gonna come up if I do. Butthole burner. Elsewhere says I just bought the Digitech Polara. In my opinion, blows the Hall of Fame out of the water. What's your all-time favorite reverb pedal? Ooh, the Polara's up there. Park Kingery sent me his to demo on my channel about a year ago, and one of the best pedal demos I ever did was on the Digitech Polara. A lot of times when I'm when I'm sending emails and stuff to companies, tell them who I am and and what I do, and give them an example of what I've done. That's often a lot of times that the link to that video is the one that I will send. And nobody's ever nobody's I haven't really had anybody bite on it and say that that's a great video. I want one done just like it, but I enjoyed it. It was just, I guess I enjoyed it because it was really it was inspiring to me. It was inspiring to me, and I wrote a really cool track with it. But the pedal itself though does sound awesome. All those Tom Cram era Digitech pedals are awesome, man. But beyond that, let's see, Polara Reverb, the MXR M300 is kick-ass. Boss RV6. The TC Hall of Fame, I don't know, they're on the 3 now. Whichever one's current. But the Hall of Fame series are great reverb pedals. I just demoed a Joyo reverb pedal. You guys haven't seen that video yet, but that one's pretty cool. So Christian Duke says, "What kind of coffee is that?" This is it's that Green Mountain brand, I think. I like flavored coffees. This is a Green Mountain caramel vanilla cream or something like that. So a little bit of sweet creamer. So, my favorite though is the I can't even think of the brand name now. The Donut Shop coconut mocha flavored coffee. That one's my favorite, but it was sold out the last couple times I was at the grocery store. Dennis Brielt says, "I'm using a Fender Pugilist right now, $120. Those are cool. That's not a real high gain distortion, but they are cool little. Cool. It is a good sound, little distortion pedal. I have one, and I've had a hard time getting a good sound out of it on recording though. Plug it into an amp sounds great, but I've done 2 videos on that pedal, and neither one of them turned out sounding all that great." Gargoyle 84 says, "What's up, Robert? What's the best string gauge for half-step tuning? I have a set of 10s on my guitar currently, but it feels too tense. Should I go back to 9s? I prefer lighter gauge strings on, as light, I prefer the lightest gauge strings I can get away with, in most cases. Usually I played 9 to 46 on just about everything for years, and then on some of my 25.5-inch scale guitars, like my Super Strats and stuff like that. And then I started about a year or 2 ago. I started going back to 9 to 42s, and actually on one guitar recently I put 8s on it just because I was testing out the old Rick Beato theory, which does hold up, by the way. But if 10s feel a little. If 10s are a little too tense, they got a little bit too much tension. I would say try go 9 to 40, 9 to 42 or 9 to 46. If you go 9 to 42, that might help tighten up the bottom end a little bit more. So. So yeah, try that. Mikey Gabbard says nines are the only gauge. In most cases, that's true. I put nines on the new baritone that I got just because I wanted to see if I could get away with it, and it was a little too, didn't quite have quite enough tension, so I left them on there for the rest of the video just because I didn't want to waste them. And but next time I change strings on that guitar, it's gonna get tens, and I think that's probably where it's gonna live for the rest of its life. So there are instances that nines are a little too springy, as Tony Ramsey would say. So still love me some OCD too. Yes, me too. OCD is one of my probably my all-time favorite overdrive. I've got a version 1.3 and a 1.4. 1.3 especially, I really like. That one's hard to find. But I like it. I like the sound of it, not because it's hard to find. Okay, also because it's kind of hard to find, but mostly I like the sound of it. Skilled Rook says, "Is it worth saving for a JCM 800? I found a combo for 1300 used local. Is it worth saving for an 1800 or for a JCM 800? Yes, absolutely. That's one of the most awesome legendary amps on the planet. 1300 for a combo though sounds a little high. The heads are the valuable ones. I've seen combos go for like $800, $800 or $900, even 212s. Everybody wants the heads. Everybody wants the heads. The combos are fine, but everybody wants the heads. So, do some homework, do some research. Also find out what year it is. That can play into that. But 1300 for a JCM 800 combo sounds a little bit high. Paul Von Tyrant, the JHS Angry Charlie kicks ass. Yes, it does. I'm trying to get a hold of a Boss Angry Driver, which is the Angry Charlie and this thing in one pedal. If you're not familiar with it, I think that thing's really, really cool. But pardon me. High Voltage Beavers here. Giles says, "What about the reverse flying V?" What about it? Sorry. Serenity Guitar says, "What is your favorite guitar to jam with now?" Oh man, if you're talking like jam with a band, God, YouTube takes up so much of my time. I don't have time to play with a band right now. The last band I was in was like a southern rock cover band, and actually I played bass in that band. And it wasn't after that band ended. It wasn't. It was right around that same time period, or actually even a little before that. They overlapped, and my YouTube channel kind of first started to take off. And and I just kind of threw myself into that, and here we are. So, but my fit, like when I'm sitting around at home, I really about most of the time that I get to play guitar is what you guys see in my videos. So I don't really have as much time to just sit down and play for my own enjoyment as I once did. And when I do that though, because usually when I'm go to grab a guitar, I'm getting ready to shoot a video, and I need to grab the guitar appropriate to the video that I'm about to make. So but if I were to walk in there right now, sit down, just grab a guitar to play for my own for my own my own enjoyment, probably be either my Music Man Majesty. I've really enjoyed playing my BC Rich ASM Pro quite a bit lately, and The Explorers are always, particularly the 2001 Explorer, that white and or the orange and red and yellow airbrush flame looking paint job thing on it that you guys always comment on. That one I like quite a bit. So either my Schecters. Yeah, I don't know. If I were gonna grab one, the first one I would grab would probably be the Music Man. Greatest guitar I've ever played. John Taylor is here. Kobayath is here. Says, did Danelectro ever make a solid pedal? Danelectro's made plenty of solid pedals. They're not the most traditional style pedals in the world, but a lot of those, there's actually a lot of people that like those. I don't even know what they call the series. It's like they've got them all named after foods. Like the fish and chips and the PB&J, and there's actually a lot of people that really like that series of pedals. They've got an oddball. It's like a reverse delay pedal called the Backtalk delay, I think is what it's called. And those are actually pretty, are suddenly drying up and getting pretty rare on the used market. So they're pretty highly sought after. And even that newer current the Billionaire series that's out right now. There's nothing wrong with those pedals at all. They're affordable and they sound good and they do the job just fine. Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with Danelectro pedals. Unless it's the Black Coffee. That thing was a total piece of garbage. It's one of the worst pedals I've ever heard. But what are you vaping on? I got fried cookie in mine. Same old juice roll-ups, blue raspberry ice. That's my favorite. Ambrose is here. I wonder, like as in Dean Ambrose? No, you don't go by. If it is, you don't go by Dean Ambrose anymore. So I couldn't be that. Or maybe it's Ambrose. There's no E on the end of it. However it's pronounced, welcome to you. Glad you're here. Dennis Brielt says, what's so special about the Weeping Demon? I hear good things about it. There's very, very little that wall pedal cannot do. It's got a high and a low switch, so you can, it'll adjust kind of adjust the frequency range on it. The idea being that if you put it on low, then suddenly it's a bass wah. And one of the ones that I own actually is actually one that I used for bass. It's on a bass pedal board. So it can do bass wah. It's got a lot of different tonal tweakabilities on it. So you can adjust the wah tone on it quite a bit. And you can also set it up to be auto or manual. Auto meaning you don't have to hit a switch to turn it on or off, or you can set it to manual where you do have to do that. The only drawback to it is if you go manual, the switch is actually next to the treadle. So if you have it set on manual, you got to step on it and then put your foot back on the treadle, and then turn it back off. So I hate wah pedals with switches anyway. So I've always preferred switchless wahs. So I've always just leave mine on auto. But yeah, they're awesome. I bought all of mine. I got all of mine early. When they were still being made, and they were on the used market for like $30 or $40 maybe. Now all of a sudden they're people are paying $60 or $70 for them. So yeah, it's a great wah pedal, man. If you're looking for a good wah, track one of those down. Why 3? You only need 1, or is there a reason for having 3? I had 3 of them, or I have 3 of them, because at one time I had 1 on my guitar pedal board, 1 on my bass pedal board, and then the third one I kept laying around. I just kept here in the house for, grab and go, mix and match, goofing around at home kind of stuff, so that I wouldn't have to mess with, hauling out the pedal board every time I wanted to use that wah pedal or taking it on and off. That's how I wound up with 3 of them, but really that's what I still do with them. So Jeremy Doge is here. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly or not. Dohse. I'm gonna assume it's Doge. Paul Von Tyrant says, "Isn't the butthole burner the same thing as the pussy melter in a different box?" That I don't know. But now it's starting to make sense. If that's a satchel Steel Panther pedal, then it makes sense. So those are cool. They're not the greatest sounding pedals in the world, but those are cool pedals. You can do a lot worse. Anyone try either of the snake oil pedals? I think those are like the Rob Chapman ones. And I admit I'm pretty I'm curious about those myself. I want to try those. So I may pick one up here one of these days. Michael Coyle says TC Glove is a decent price. Might try that pedal. That's the Electro Harmonix clone of the OCD is what that is. No, you said TC Glove. I don't know what the TC Glove is. The Electro Harmonix glove, the EHX glove, Glove Overdrive is an OCD clone. I'm not familiar with it. I didn't know the TC had a pedal called the Glove. John Taylor says, I haven't bought an actual pedal since the early 90s. Oh, man. I don't know what turned me into a pedal fanatic. I guess, a band that I was playing in about, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that. I was being tasked with, learning a bunch of stuff, and doing a bunch of things that I had never, I really wasn't skilled or prepared to do. And, so I had to come up with a bunch of sounds that I didn't have at my disposal. So I started buying pedals to fill in the gaps. And here we are. Serenity Guitar says, you mentioned Joyo and how fast they have become a great product. 7-38 Billy Gibbons. Yes, Joyo have. I mean, honestly, Joyo really always made, even their first run of pedals actually were pretty good sounding pedals. They just looked cheap. And felt cheap, but they sounded good. Not the most reliable things in the world, but they sounded good. Billy Gibbons, 7-38. Yes, he was, he is known for playing 7-gauge strings. But he's also played 8s and 9s and 10s, and it's Billy Gibbons. He's played all kinds of stuff. It's not like every single time he's ever picked up a guitar in his life it had 7s on it. So Blur says, Robert, what are your thoughts on the Hughes and Kettner Grandmeister? I would like to get one for the right price. I'd love to have a Grandmeister. There's a period there for a while that I was saving up for them. I was saving up for one, and they seem to hold their value pretty well on the used market too. Because I think even the current versions are like $1,400 new. And then the foot switch is another $250 or $300 or something like that on top of it. So I mean, they're expensive. For an import amplifier especially. The Tube Meisters I've never, they sound okay, but they've never, I've never found them to be mind blowing or anything by any means. But the Grandmeisters I've always thought sounded awesome. But I go to look for one every now and again. I've never seen one go less than $800 on the used market. Never seen one. So It doesn't really necessarily make sense for me to get one now because, be it the 36 or the 40, whichever version, whichever generation, with all the effects and stuff that are built into it, which is part of what makes it cool. And it's got like delay and reverb. It's not like a modeling amp or anything like that. But it's got a couple of onboard effects. But I've got two shelves full of pedals right in front of me. There's another pile of pedals underneath the camera that you guys are watching me through right now. I don't need onboard effects. So, but if the day comes that I ever, that I start playing in a band again and I start playing out again, there's a very strong possibility that I could wind up with a Grandmaster 40 and a 212 cabinet, just so I can take a smaller pedal board. So I'm in my 40s now, man. Lugging 100-watt heads and 412 cabs all over town is not nearly as enjoyable. Is not nearly as appealing as it was when I was in my 20s. See, James Severin is here. Yo, Robert. What's up, James? Christopher Morrow is here. Says, hey, Robert, haven't been here for a few weeks. I haven't been here for a few weeks either. I didn't do one last week. You guys probably haven't. You guys probably wouldn't notice this, but the last few live streams that I've done, I've actually had to plug this mic directly into the camera because I couldn't, for whatever reason, plugged into my interface. It just, it wouldn't register in OBS. I couldn't figure out what the problem was. So I had Tony Ramsey come over last week on Saturday, and the plan was, because I knew he'd be able to fix it and help me get it figured out, which he did. But the plan was for us, once we did that, then we were going to sit down and do live stream, and then he had some stuff that he had to go take care of, and he couldn't stick around too much after that. I had to get going on some other the things that I had to get going on, so I didn't get a chance to do a live stream at all last week. I think I did one the week before. It was the last one that I did. But anyway, now I got my microphone plugged into my interface now, where it should be. What do you think about what do you think about the Positive Grid Spark amp? I'm thinking of buying one, but not sure to wait forever for shipping. There's problem number one. I hope you don't need it anytime in the next 6 months, because that's about how long it's taken to get a hold of those things, is my understanding. I've heard good and bad. Most of the demos that are up on YouTube right now are they're demos. They're not reviews, meaning that there were they were done by creators, sponsored by Positive Grid, which there's nothing wrong with, by the way. I'm not saying that. I don't want to sound like I'm giving those guys a hard time at all. No complaints, no problems here with with making a living. However, Alan Barnes, my good buddy from Geargasms, he bought one with his own money, and he's done a couple of videos on it so far, and his first one was less than flattering. So, congratulations to him, by the way, because I think that video really took off for him. So, which is good to see, because he's a small channel like me, and he's a great guy. But for me, it's just that modeling thing that you control with a phone or a mobile device or something. It looks cool, and I'm all for technology, but this is just not my thing. I've had a few people ask me if I demo it, and even a few people have even offered to send me theirs, so I could. And it's just not my thing. Just not my thing. How about a best 412 212 cab video? Whew. I'll consider it. I've got a couple of best of videos that are, one that's one you guys will see here in a couple of weeks, and Actually, you got maybe the next week or so, actually. And another worst of video that you guys won't see for a few more weeks. But the Anarcho Lucas, let me try that again. The Anarcho Luthiers says, got my fingers on a fresh set of 9s. As I sit here, I go 10s on my acoustic. Serenity Guitar says, I have to try the OCD. Oh, man, if you've never tried OCD, yeah. If you've never tried an OCD, go try an OCD, man. You don't know what you're missing. Those are awesome overdrive pedals, man. They're not, they are not in the, it's not a Tube Screamer circuit. It's not a Klon circuit. It's kind of its own thing, which is, one reason why I really like them. So, Ronnie Webster's here. Says, hey, Robert, how are you, man? Doing good, sir. Thank you. Hope you're doing well as well. Christopher Morrow says, I picked up some old pedals today. Anybody remember the Ibanez Sound Tank? I like the Ibanez Sound Tanks, man. They're not built real well. That's a plastic housing pedal. It was a budget line of pedals. But they actually sound good. I keep waiting for the right timing to pop up because there's actually a Tube Screamer out of that line called the TS5. I think it was the TS5. So I keep waiting for a TS5 to pop up because I want to get what I want to do, and I know it's already been done, but I've never done it before myself. Is I want to get like one of each type of Tube Screamer out there: the TS9, the 808, the TS5, the TS7. A few others that are out there, and do a comparison video on all of them. So, but I haven't tracked one of every time I'm looking for pedals, and I have seen one pop up. It's either been more money than I thought it was worth, or pardon me. It was either whoever was selling it was asking more than I thought it was worth, or just I was after something else. Ronnie Webster says, are you a fan of Jackson guitars? Yes, absolutely. I love Jackson guitars. I don't own a Jackson branded guitar, but I do have a Charvel Model 1, which is basically, from 87, I believe, is the year, which was, at that time, that was basically a made in Japan soloist. Same pickups and everything, even that came with the made in USA Jackson pickups, the old ones that are kind of hard to find now. But yes, I love Jackson guitars. Don't own one, but I would certainly love to. That's another one of those things that is like I've always wanted, but I've never gotten around to buying. There's a I'd love to have of course, I'd love to have one of the the USA ones, of course, but for like a good working man's guitar, the DK2M. If I could find a DK2M in either Iridescent Swirl or Crimson Swirl, for the right price, I'd jump on it. Those are awesome. Thoughts on Bagheera 333 combo? I played those Bagheeras when the first run of them came out before they had to go and revamp everything and call it the Infinium series. So I played the pre-Infinium series, and they were all notorious for blowing up. So pardon me. Yeah, that first run of Bagheera amps had they had some serious reliability problems, and that kind of turned me off of the line after that. But they sounded good. I just didn't like the fact that it was very possible I was going to have to buy a new amp in 6 months. Gargoyle 84 says, should I plug my wah in the effects loop or input? Front input. One of your first pedals in your chain, actually. One of the first pedals in your chain. I usually run, matter of fact, that's usually like the first pedal on my chain. John Taylor says, I like my fab tone distortion. Which is Big Cole. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. Bear with me a minute here, folks. I'm trying to get caught up in the chat a little bit. If I miss, if you ask a question and I skipped over, just ask it again. Hey, we're up to 40 viewers right now. I don't know. That may be the first time I've cracked 40 viewers on a live stream on this channel before. Thank you, guys. Gargoyle 84 said, I've been looking at the Bad Horsey 2 Wah to pair up with a decent delay pedal. Can't make up my mind on the. They just came out with a new version of the Bad Horsey 2 that looks pretty cool. I've had a couple of customers that have bought them from me already, and they all love it. So I'm a little biased because I like Morley Wah pedals, particularly the Bad Horseys. But no, I think I really want to try. I haven't tried the new ones yet, but I've talked to people that have, and they like them. So I would never try to talk you out of buying a Bad Horsey too. Christopher Morrow says, I'm a killer custard kind of guy. I don't know what that means, but okay. Kobe Gal says, what did the Chapman baritone do to your EQ settings? Does it really take a specific amp to get the most out of it? Hughes and Kettner had a money pit designed specifically for detuned guitar. I don't buy that at all. I mean, I didn't touch my EQ settings with it. It lower notes, but lower notes, lower frequency. But no, I didn't have to mess with any EQ. I didn't have to mess with EQ anywhere any differently than I did with any of my other guitars. So, no, I dig it. I like it a lot. Sweet Mercy 69 says, I have a regular Crybaby Wah, but found a wild Wah at a pawn shop for $60-$70. Would it be an upgrade? I paid about the same for the Wah I have. If you pay that much for your Wah pedal new, that means you probably got a GCB 95, which is like the standard original. That's like the original Crybaby that's sold everywhere right now, which is not a bad Wah pedal, but they are notorious for sucking guitar tone. The Wild Wah pedal is definitely an upgrade. That one sells for probably twice the money, brand new. So, if you like the Wild Wah, you gotta like that. You have to like that Wah pedal first, but yeah, I would consider that an upgrade. Man. Kobe Out says, tried the snake oil distortion last year, rolled through a Marshall. Interesting. Okay. There's now getting down to where Big Cole joined the soiree. Welcome, Big Cole. Anthony Baltusas is here. So I just picked up a Keeley Darkside pedal. It's my first pedal. Nice, man. Congratulations. That's you not a bad pedal to start out with. If you grabbed a Keeley, Keeley's awesome. Serenity Guitar says, has anyone tried 7 to 38 challenge? Would you? I don't even know. I don't remember the last time I was in a guitar shop that actually carried 7-gauge strings. I mean, I can find 8s, extra slinkies, and even then, the Ernie Ball extra slinkies are the only ones that I ever see. But I cannot. I don't know that I have ever seen 7 gauge strings in a guitar shop in my lifetime that I can think of. So you probably have to order them off of the interwebs somewhere. Would be my guess. But yeah, I'd try it. I'd try it. I don't know that I would try it on anything below standard tuning, but I would give it a shot. I mean, that's Beato. The test that Beato did. If you saw that video, was actually pretty interesting. The way that lighter strings will tighten up the bottom end of your guitar tone. Which is one reason why I decided to try eights on a couple of guitars, and he was absolutely right. Hey, Rockin' Dave Byron is here. So, hey, Robert, and hope all is well. For Robert, have you tried the Boss SY1 synth pedals? Just got one. It smokes. Tracking is great. Yes, I have, as a matter of fact. I got to try that pedal. The Boss rep actually came into our office just, literally like a week before they were launching. They hadn't even announced it yet, I don't think. But so I got to try one in person when the Boss rep was there, and you're right, it was pretty cool. It's I'm not really much of a synth pedal kind of guy, but that pedal gave me, especially watching the way he was using it, that one gave me a little bit different perspective on a synth pedal. So he was using it with the what's that looper that the RC10 looper, I think it is. He was using it in conjunction with the RC10 looper. And he was using the SY1 as all on. He was playing a PRS. He was playing bass lines with it. I mean, there were actual low bass frequency lines. He was doing everything with that pedal. It was really neat. Yeah, I'd like to have one. I would like to have one, but one day. Christopher Morrow says, "What's the challenge?" The challenge that I'm assuming that you're referring to the 738 challenge. Yeah, what he's talking about is, I don't know if it's a 38 gauge, because I know the 38 is the biggest gauge on an 8 gauge string set, 8 to 38. So I don't know if that's what it is on sevens too. I don't know, but anyway. Go check out Rick Beato's channel. He did a video a few months back where, they were talking about ways to tighten up the bottom end of your guitar tone. And, he had mentioned that, I think it was Dave Friedman, that said to him, if so you don't necessarily have to, do all this amp tweaking on different cabs and speakers and stuff. You can also just switch to a lighter gauge set of strings. It'll do the same thing. So they put it to the test, and if you listen to that video with a good pair of headphones, but you can hear it. Rhett Shull was in that video as well, and he even did a follow-up video of his own on his channel, that said Beato was right. So that is the challenge. You go to a lighter gauge set of strings and tighten up the bottom end of your guitar tone. See how it works out. I noticed I noticed a little bit of a difference when I went from 9 to 46 on one of my BC Riches to 8 to 38. Matter of fact, I'm going to leave that string gauge on that guitar for a while. Nocturnal Evil says, what'll work better for mid-boosting an overdriven amp, a tube screamer type pedal or a dedicated parametric EQ pedal, equalizer pedal? If you just want, to boost specific frequencies, EQ pedal is usually the way to go. The problem with going with an overdrive pedal, even if you got the drive all the way down, sometimes that tends to, it'll boost the frequencies, but it'll also add a little bit of mud in some other areas. Tube screamers are known to have that real nasty mid-range hump in it, so it'll get the job done, but yeah, no, I would go with an EQ pedal, preferably in the loop, especially if you're just looking for a clean boost of a specific frequency. EQ pedal's the way to go. By the Boss EQ 200 pedal is a killer EQ pedal, by the way. I also like the can't think what the hell's that brand name. Ugh. Ooh. I keep wanting to say Singular Sound, but it's not them. Um, they've got the programmable EQ. Just a regular size stomp box, but it's a programmable EQ. Yeah. Oh man, I own one and I can't think of the name of it. Oh well, maybe it'll come to me. Charles 75N says favorite LPD pedal. I don't know what LPD pedal is. I don't know what LPD stands for. Kevin Musso says checking in from California. It's 107 degrees here today. Shut in, play guitar day. Yeah, it's a little warm here in the Midwest today as well. It's not that warm, but it's warm, and it's definitely warm. We are, fortunately it rained, so humidity's picked up quite a bit, and I don't know that I'm going to be venturing outdoors too much today myself either. Guillaume Labayan says, "Hi Rob, we love you from France." Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll even overlook the fact that you called me Rob in that comment. Fresno, San Joaquin Valley. I haven't been. I'd love to go. I'd love to take a trip to California. I haven't been out there since I was a kid. Says I know you would 100% tell the truth about the Spark. I mean, I would be as honest as I could, but realistically, I mean, there's just some pieces of gear that some YouTube, some people on YouTube are just not suitable to demo. Just because it's just not the right fit. I mean, nobody is going to send Ola England, some weird ambient tremolo reverb weird thing. Nobody's going to send that to Ola to demo. He may go, choose to do so on his own, on his own accord, but I mean, there's, Earthquaker Devices is not going to send their weirdest, latest, and greatest reverb tremolo flanger pedal to Ola England. They're going to send their latest and greatest high gain distortion pedal to them. So, and that's kind of where I am with the Spark. Would I be honest about it? Absolutely I would. But at the same time, I'm not the kind of player that amp is marketed towards. I guess is really the major conflict there. So. Whoa, what's going on here? Error, YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, as such viewers will experience buffering. Okay, if you guys experience buffering, I'm sorry. I didn't do it, but something did. So, I hope you guys can still see what's going on. It says we're still cooking here. Let's see. Captor X 2 Notes is a home studio godsend. Yes, I have a close friend that works for 2 Notes, and I haven't gotten him to let me borrow one yet, but I'm hoping to here pretty soon. Right, he's got to have his handy because it's his job to sell them. But and right now that's a pretty high demand item, especially with everybody, so many people still stuck at home. Absolutely, it is a really, really cool. I have the original, the first Captor, not the Captor X, but the Captor here at my desk, and I do use that quite a bit. And even that, the cab sim on that, I think sounds awesome. The Captor is really, really cool. And then they came out with the Captor X like right after, like just 6 months after I bought my Captor. So, how about a great next to the couch guitar? Let me try this again. How about a great next to the couch amp that actually sounds good? Your thoughts? Ooh. Man, oh god, there's so many things you could do for that. Like what's that? That Marshall DSL-5, be a good choice. The Randall RD-5. If you want tube amps anyway. If you're a modeling amp kind of person, then your modeling amp of choice would get that done as well. So, certainly lots of different ways that you could go there, but. Guillaume Le Bayan says, "What's your favorite guitar?" Favorite guitar that I own is my Music Man Majesty. Favorite guitar that I don't own that I've always wanted to own is a Gibson Les Paul Custom, and that guitar still eludes me to this day. Haven't been able to buy one yet. Maybe one day. Paul Von Tyrant says, "Hey, Robert, is there really that big of a difference between all the different OCD pedals? I have the 2.0 in the custom shop, Germanium ones, and everyone tells me I need a 1.4 or 1.7. Yes. And since they've come out with the 1.7s, that's the version that's available on the market today. If you go buy a brand new OCD, I think it's the one it's either the 1.7 or they may have finally come out with a 2.0. I can't recall, but if you go buy a brand new one today, it's one of those. Prior to that, for the longest time, if you bought a brand new one, it was a 1.4. So the 1.4s and the 1.7 seems to be the ones that are all over the place on the used market, and I think it's the 1.7 is my understanding is basically is basically the recreation of the 1.1, the original version. The 1.1, the 1.2, and the 1.3, those are the hard ones to find. The 1.1 and the 1.2 being there was fewer of those two made, so those are the rarest. The 1.3 is also pretty rare, though they did make a few more of them. But the last time I was checking out the the OCD forums, the 1.3 seems to be the one that everybody wants. That's the one to have, tone wise. So which is those things sell for like $250 on the used market. So, but if somebody handed you a 1.4 or a 1.7, I wouldn't complain about that either, because those are also great sounding overdrives. Big Cole says, "Love your channel and kindness." Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. I'm not kind to everybody, especially if you decide to be a dick. There's some dude being a dick in the comments. Some dude named Michael Davis being a dick in the comments section right now. One of my videos. But that's what Know Your Troll videos are for. I hate it when this thing does that. I got to scroll down just a little bit to get caught up, and then it jumps all the way down to the bottom. Then I got to scroll back up to find where I just left off. Because I'm trying to get to everybody. Remember the wah they had you that had Big Cole says, "Remember the wah they had that you wore as a ring." That was by that company whose name I can't think of at the moment. I'm gonna have to get up and go look at that pedal because I can't think of the brand name at the moment. But yeah, they had this. It was what do they call it, the wave or the wand or something like that. But yeah, you had to you wore it as a ring, and then it would react as the modulation would react. with the motion of your hand. It was a cool concept, but I don't think it didn't seem to be very well received. So plus, I think that ring thing probably got lost by a lot of people. Hmm. Is the Ernie Ball wah pedal a different animal from the old Crybaby, or is the packing just different? I didn't know Ernie Ball had a wah pedal. I know they've got a bunch of different volume pedals, but I was not aware that they had a wah pedal. But Ernie Ball makes good stuff too. So Anthony Baltusa says, "I can't wait to hook up my new pedal, but I'm waiting till after your show is done." Well, thank you. If I had a new pedal, and it was either my new pedal or watch my live stream, I'd be playing with my new pedal. So, but thank you. William Cooper says, "Hey RGD, have you seen the new 2020 BC Rich Neck Through Mockingbird? Man, it looks and sounds awesome." Yes, I actually really like the new BC Rich line of guitars quite a bit. I really want to try a. They've got a new Super Strat model called the Shredzilla that I want to try. So I want to get my hands on a Shredzilla, and they have a Mockingbird that has both the Fishman pickups, the Fishman Fluence pickups, and a Evertune bridge on it. That's the only one of those that I can find that has both of those features on it. And that's if I buy a new BC Rich, I want it to have both of those. So it may be the Mockingbird if they don't have a Shredzilla by then that has both of those features. But yeah, I've been paying pretty close attention to the new line of BC Rich guitars, and I am very, very much impressed. I like them quite a bit. Paul Von Tyrant says, "Thanks for answering my questions and hanging out with us on a Saturday." My pleasure, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. Seriously. Seriously, I'm very, very grateful. Every little bit goes a long way, especially in these times. Anthony Baltusa says, "Ever try slide guitar? I tried it last week and love it. Set up one of my guitars specifically for slide." I've got a couple of brass slides right here at my desk, and every time I sit down to do a demo of something, a pedal, I keep telling myself, I really want to, do a demo with a slide, just because I haven't done that yet. And then when I go to sit down, I never think of it. So, maybe I'll do one here. Now that you've reminded me of it. Maybe I'll be able to get to that here in the next week or two. The next time I do a full track, something or other. But yeah, man, I think slide guitar is cool. It was the song that really, really, earned me an appreciation for ZZ Top was "Just Got Paid." And that's got a pretty long slide solo right in the middle of it. Was the MXR EQ pedal, Robert says Dave Byron. No, it was not the MXR EQ. The MXR EQ, and I can't believe I totally forgot to mention that, but the 10-band EQ is one of my favorite all-time EQ pedals. Probably my favorite EQ pedal. The Boss EQ 200, was right up there with it after I tried that. But the MXR is a fantastic EQ pedal. But that is not the one. Man, Google. Programmable EQ pedal. It's going to pop right up, and I'm going to forget all about it. Source Audio, thank you. Source Audio Programmable EQ, which they have now discontinued, and there is now a new version called the EQ2 that I have not been able to get I haven't tried one of those yet, but that one looks pretty cool. A little bit more digitalized by the looks of it. But Source Audio. LPD, Lawrence Petrov Designs. That's right. You've mentioned that to me before in the past. You've mentioned that to me before. I've never tried them. You know, I've never played them. Matter of fact, I don't know that I've ever even seen one. Um, Maybe I'll see if they got a Facebook page or something. Reach out to them and see if they would be interested in me doing a demo of one or two. Big Cole says, "Oh man, going backwards through your videos. Thank you so much for taking video at the Metallica concert in Indy. I've never seen them in concert. That was an experience of a lifetime for me. You know, I was I was pissed that they you know one of a record label somewhere cut into the monetization of that video, even though I kind of knew it was going to happen, but." But for the video, as far as the video itself, that was an experience of a lifetime for me. I hadn't gotten to see Metallica since the early '90s, and every single time they came around, because Metallica are my all-time favorite band. I think you watch more than about 4 minutes of this channel, you probably know that. All-time favorite band. James Hetfield is probably my biggest inspiration on guitar, and every single time that they've come around to Indianapolis since that time I got to see him as a kid, they were, something got in the way. Either I had something, there was something else scheduled, or, I didn't have enough money, or whatever it may have been. Something kept getting in the way. And, I thought that was going to happen again this time around, and it just, the right person called me at the absolute right time, and I got to go. And not only did I get to go, I got to see him from the front row. It was like I said, it was an experience of a lifetime. I'd go do it again tomorrow. I'd go do it again tomorrow if I could, but let's see. Guillaume Lebion says, "Have you tried to put the Boss CS3 before an SD1 or an SD1? I'm assuming you're asking SD1 or a DS1. It's incredible. I don't see that on YouTube. I've never tried it, but the reason is because I'm not a compressor guy. I am not much. I own one compressor pedal, I think, and I don't remember the last time I've used it. I'm just not a compressor guy. I mean, I've always been such a high gain kind of player, even though I do try to back off on that. But I've always played with enough gain. I just don't never really found much of a use for compression in my signal chain. Mixing tracks a little bit different story, but in my guitar signal. But maybe I'll give it a shot one of these days. Ambrose says, "How can I donate?" A couple ways you can do that. You can either there's a couple links down in the video description, or you can there should be a little button down there at the bottom that says, like either down at the bottom of the chat says something about it's got a dollar sign on it that you can use. Either will work. Thank you very much, by the way. Thank you for asking. Let's see. Rockin' Dave Byron says, hope the best for the people of Positive Grid on that Spark Amp, but I would be pissed if I had to wait that long for one when some YouTubers got theirs for free and I paid. Yeah, I guess, I'd I'd be lying if I said that wasn't part of the my motivation not to want to not to want to demo one. If I got to pay for one, when I know a lot of other creators that didn't have to, but but again, that's they set aside the cost of of a number of amps as part of their marketing package for that particular product, and as I mentioned before, I don't know that I'm the right guy to demo that amp, so. But yeah, I certainly don't wish any ill will for them. I hope it turns out to be a great product, a successful amplifier for them, that they're able to keep it going. Honestly, seems to be the first run of products that are a little bit more in the budget friendly price range. Everything else I've ever seen Positive Grid has has been a little bit higher end. So not higher end, but more expensive. Michael Coyle says, way to be a dick. Do the reverse flying V-face one more time. What reverse flying V-face? I never said a word about that guitar. Trevor Mativier, I'm going Mativier. Says, what's your favorite wah? I have a Morley wah volume, and the button is in the worst place. I'm thinking getting something different. You must have just joined us because we were talking about the Ibanez Weeping Demon earlier, which is my favorite wah pedal. Ibanez Weeping Demon, Morley, Bad Horsey 2, among a lot of different Morley models. Bob Vanover says, from Carl Junction, Missouri, got a lot of good info from you. Keep up the good work. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Glad I've been able to help in some small way. Serenity Guitars says things I need to try. 1, Evertune Bridge. 2, Full Stack Marshall. 3, PRS amp. What are y'all thoughts on Vox amp plug? Robert, have you tried them? I want the 2.0 version, but been using the 1.0 version. I am not familiar. I know what they are, but I've never used an amp plug. I will defer to the rest of the guys and gals in the chat for info on those. I've been binge watching, Anthony Baltusa says, I've been binge watching Steel Panther videos. Those guys effing rock and make me laugh. Do you like them? Seems people love them or hate them. Yeah, no, I think they're fantastic, man. I think they're a killer act. They're kind of an 80s hair metal parody band, but they're definitely entertaining. Definitely entertaining. They're watch any of their live shows. The chances that you're going to see boobs are better than better than they are just about any other show on the planet. If you're somebody who likes to see boobs anyway, also, I don't want to take anything away from them. Satchel especially is a really good guitar player. So, no, I dig them. I like Steel Panther. Serenity Guitar says, what's a good looper pedal? And seen the new Ditto Plus on Anderton's. Never used a looper. But what do you use or recommend? Actually, I recommend the, it's a little bit pricier, but I recommend the Singular Sound Eros Loop Studio. If you're looking for something complex anyway, something that'll do a lot, all different kinds of looping, and simple looping. It'll do the simple stuff as well, actually. I like it because it's easy to use, and that's my biggest complaint. Not complaint, but my biggest struggle with loopers is You know, man, I've kind of got two left feet when it comes to the coordination thing, and the arrows just seems to kind of take all that out, all those removes all those problems from takes all the guesswork. Is what I'm looking to say, and you know, especially when you use it with the Beat Buddy in conjunction. You know, you use the two together, and it's like I said, it's really, really easy to use. I was surprised at how a guy like me actually was able to figure it out as quick as I could. You know. So yeah, Arrows Loop Studio, man. Like I said, they're a little pricier, but very powerful tool to have laying around, especially if you're in songwriting. Says check. Serenity Guitar says check DNC Guitars, Metallica inspired. All right, I'll check them out. I've never heard of them. Rocket Day Byron said I was very fortunate to see Metallica in '86 Master Puppets tour. I think that was a tour they were opening. They opened for Ozzy on that tour, and like outsold. You know, like everybody was there to see Metallica instead of Ozzy. Pardon me. Unfortunately, that was also the tour that we lost Cliff Burton. Unfortunately. Anthony Baltuzza says, I saw Metallica back in '88 when they did the Monsters of Rock tour. I was in the 48,000th, 23rd row. I would have loved to have seen it. I would love to go to I wish they were still doing the Monsters of Rock thing, man. That was a killer show. I've seen so many videos, video live performances, but I never got to go to one, you know. But God, there was a lot of people at those shows. My God. Hey, for anybody that cares, Papa John's just sent an alert out. Says pineapple people, it's your day. National Day. God damn, what's it say? National Day, and tropical fruit belongs on pizza. Period. Tap to order. So if you like pineapple on pizza, today is your day to order from Papa John's. Big Cole says, Ambrose, hit the dollar sign, buy some Pickers Grip, or get some merch. I actually don't sell Pickers Grip. I just promote them and support them. But yeah, there is if there's a link, you know, if any of the videos they've sponsored, there should be links to Pickers Grip in any of those videos as well. So, but yes, there is also links to my Teespring shop available as well if you would like to buy yourself a t-shirt. Michael Coyle says, watching your live chat and Killer Dwarf vids. Paul Ewing of Stompbox Steels says, if you're going to demo Lawrence's pedals, ask for the LPD 87. It is a JCM 800 on steroids. Great for late 80s and early 90s pedal. I have one for just that, and this pedal just nails it. Okay. LPD 87. Got it. Now watching Helix vids, as in Line 6 Helix, or is there a band called Helix that I'm not familiar with? Suchi N says, only just managed to join as the Weeping Demon a pickup. No, the Weeping Demon is a wah pedal. I think you might be thinking of the Screaming Demon pickup from Seymour Duncan, which was a pickup that Seymour Duncan made specifically for George Lynch. It's kind of which is it's actually cool. That's a cool sound of pickup because it's it's uh it's not a high output pickup. It's it's only about 10K, so it's kind of it's pretty moderate output. It's a moderate output pickup that sounds like a high output pickup, but it's not. So and Dave Byron says really liked your demo on the Loop Studio pedal, Robert. It seems to be the only one that would be able to replace my Digitech Jamman stereo loopers. Yeah, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm glad you. I had to do 2 videos on that, one for each mode. But I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I hope that was a. I'll be honest, man. That was one of the hardest pedal demos I've ever had to do. Definitely, one of the most difficult pedal demos I've ever done. It didn't, when you watched it, you wouldn't think it was, it was all that tough, but there was a lot that went into it, trying to capture the sound, and, the full operation, everything of it all together was quite challenging. So I'm glad some people got something out of it. Anthony Egger says, what are your favorite pedal brands and pedal effects? Boss. Been a lifelong Boss guy. Love Boss pedals. Even the Metal Zone. So feel free to make fun of me all you want, but the Metal Zone's awesome. See, God, I love Boss. I love, what else am I into? I've rekindled my love for Digitech and Electro Harmonics, and I hated both of those brands for years. But I have grown to fall back in love with both of those brands. Way Huge pedals are cool. Man, what else? MXR. I like the big box brands. The non-boutique brands. I like most of those quite a bit. TC. As far as boutique brands. Peppers pedals. Let's see, Peppers pedals. I gotta throw Park Kingery at Parks Custom Pedals a bone. He's coming up with some pretty really unique stuff. Jupiter Effects. Let's see. Man, you'd think I'd be able to just be rattling off, and I don't want to just rattle off pedal brand names, but, I'm trying to think of ones that I actually own that I actually get a lot of use out of. So, yeah. So, that's, yeah. I would say, any of those, but, if I had to pick one very favorite pedal brand, it'd be Boss. So, and I'm sure people are going to make fun of me for that all day long, but I don't care. Trevor Mativier says, what is your favorite set of pickups? Ooh, Seymour Duncan, JB, and Jazz setup, the hot rodded humbucker set. Guillaume LeBion says people don't really like Zoom multi-effect. I have the G1 and I plug the new Boss EV30 Express in it. It's wonderful. A lot of possibilities. I want to say that to the world. I know a lot of people that actually have enjoyed the Zoom multi stuff. So Zoom their strength has always been more in their recording gear rather than their guitar effects, but. But they do make some good stuff. Paul Von Tyrant says my gear has my gear buying has way surpassed my skill level. Guilty. Michael Coyle says, Boss 63 Fender, looking for one. Ooh. What's the... They make a... I mean, they still make a couple of Fender pedals. I can't remember if the... One of them is... I can't remember if the 63 is still one of them or not. I know maybe it's a 65. I don't remember. But I would have to... I'd have to look it up. Paul Ewing of Stompbox Deals says, Robert, awesome review of the X Gear. You scooped everyone on that pedal worldwide. They're just now reviewing them. Tell the guys when it comes to metal, check here first. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. They are killer pedals. You know, I got it sitting over here on the table. That's one of the pedals that's piled up underneath the camera that I mentioned earlier. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. They're actually a great company. Real easy to work with. You know, just about everybody. You know, all of the X Gear folks all like added me on Facebook, and we interact, and communicate regularly now. I liked that demo, and then I felt about that big when like 4 days later, Pete Thorne released his demo of the what was the Red Fury distortion, whatever the distortion pedal was that he did his demo on, because he did a killer demo on that pedal, and I don't know. I wish my demos were half as good as his. So. Big Cole says, I didn't get to see Rush either. I'm fortunate enough I got to see Rush several times. I think I saw him four times. Counterparts, Roll the Bones. No, not Counterparts. Oh man, I know I saw him on Roll. Yeah, I did. Roll the Bones, Counterparts, and 30th Anniversary, and one other one I can't remember. But man, they were a phenomenal live band. Phenomenal live band. And every time I saw him, I think except once, first time I saw him, first time I saw him was the only time they had an opening band for him, and that was Primus. Primus opened for him. And every other time that I saw them, they were by themselves and played 2 full sets. Joseph Austin says, Boss pedals were the best. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you could drop a can of beer on them with no ill effect. I don't understand the hip hater hate. I've never understood the hate for Boss pedals either. People seem to have backed off on the making fun of the Metal Zone lately, and I think that's after Boss kind of decided to give everybody the middle finger, and they came out with the Wazacraft version, which is a kick-ass distortion pedal. I think that's when everybody kind of backed off between that and between all the demos that hit YouTube of everybody running the Metal Zone into the into the effects loop instead of the front end, of which I was second to do that, by the way. Everybody kind of started to back off on the Metal Zone a little bit. But yeah, they have never done me wrong. I think the only Boss pedal that I have ever owned that I don't still have is, my first distortion pedal was an HM3, I believe. That, and I bought it because it said heavy metal on it, thinking it was, that was the one that I wanted, and I had no idea how to use it, and I never could get it to sound good. And then the Metal Zone came out, and all my friends went and got metal zones, and I was like, man, that's what I wanted to sound like. So I sold my HM3 and went and got a metal zone. And I kind of wish I still had the HM3 back just for collectability reasons, but. Yngwie has a signature pedal from Fender now to replace his DOD 250. Really? Well, then he must have gotten Fender to clone the DOD 250 circuit. Because, I mean, he's used a DOD 250 forever. I mean, that's been his overdrive for decades. You know, his signature DOD pedal was a slightly modified DOD 250. Kobe out says, the Dirty Fingers or the Dirty Fingers Plus pickups you prefer? I don't know that I necessarily prefer one over the other. They're both, I like them both. They do not like high gain. The Dirty Fingers is the one that I have in my SG. The Dirty Fingers Plus, I don't know if you could buy those aftermarket. They made those. Gibson put those pickups in guitars for the first time, I think, with the Government series. And, the only way that you could get a hold of those pickups at that time was to buy one of those guitars. And it was probably the hottest damn pickup I had ever heard at that time. Dirty Fingers pickups sound, they sound best. They're perfect for Marshalls, really. Like Marshalls and, JCM 800s and Plexis and stuff. Stuff that's meant to be cranked up loud, but it's not really high gain because they drive the front of the amp a lot harder. But if you run them into a high gain amp of some kind, they tend to get away from you. They get pretty muddy pretty easily. But as far as which one I prefer, I've only played the Dirty Fingers Plus a couple of times in my life because they're so hard to come by. So. So Vanity Guitar says, before Zach made Signature, I was going to buy the Boss pedals, especially when they shrunk the chorus pedal by MXR, but the Boss sounds so good. They do. The Zach Wild Signature MXR pedals are pretty good too, though. Matter of fact, one of the very first pedal demos I ever did was a MXR Zach Wild chorus pedal. And that was a really, really cool chorus pedal. I've never owned one. I'd certainly like to have one though. That's a good pedal. I've always liked the Zach Wild, the MXR Zach Wild overdrive, even though it's not a clone, but it's based off of the Boss SD1 circuit, which is what he was known for using prior to that. Suchi Yen says, Robert, must say your Slipknot rocked the other day too. Quality stuff. Thanks, man. That's that's probably the only Slipknot riff that I know, and really that was the first that was about the only semi-recognizable riff I could think of, and drop A that I could use for that demo. So that's why it made an appearance. But thank you. Kobe SS found a set on Reverb for $150 for the Dirty Fingers. Seems like a steal. For two sets of Dirty, for two Dirty Finger pickups, yeah, I mean, those are, what are those things, 130, 40, $150 a piece. So basically half, almost, a little more than. I'd pay $150 for a pair of them if I had a guitar to put them in anyway. Anthony Baltusa says, love the Boss Katana 50 amp. So if the pedals are built like their amps, they are, it's a lot. They're not the exact same effects engine, but they're close. The Katanas use more the newer, the digital algorithms, the latest and greatest digital algorithms, especially the Katana 2s that just came out. Whereas a lot of the Boss pedals are digital, but a
lot of them anyway. But some of them are, like the distortions. The Boss Metal Zone came out in 1992. They haven't changed a single thing on that pedal. You buy one brand new today, and it's the exact same thing of what you would buy in 1992 when it came out. Trevor Mativier says, have you tried any of the Solar guitars yet? No, I haven't. And I would certainly like to. But they're not, they don't really seem to be big into, into other channels demoing their guitars. There's other, I know Glenn Fricker's bought a couple of them, but I think he paid for them. So, they just don't seem to send out, guitars for other channels to demo, which, but Ola's channel is, Ola owns the company and his channel is huge. So, they really don't need it. Chapman was doing that when they first, when they first launched and they were still getting off the ground. But, I think that was also before the YouTube craze really blew up to where it is now. So, Rob Chapman didn't, Chapman and Lee Anderton, they didn't have the luxury with Chapman guitars, the YouTube luxury with Chapman guitars that Ola has now. So, but I haven't tried them, and those are, they do seem to be something I would really, really like. So, maybe I'll get my hands on one of these days. Paul Ewing of Stompbox Steel says, Robert, what is cool is other reviewers are more into showing off their chops where you show
what the pedal will do for us Earthlings. We all know it and are grateful. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. The truth is I don't really have chops to show off. There's a lot of great players out there on YouTube, man. I can't keep up with most of them, to be honest. The Boss, Sushian says, the Boss Chorus and Flanger were used on loads of stuff in the 80s. Absolutely they were. The Dimension C chorus, the Dimension C, Boss Dimension C was, that was like the chorus sound of the 80s. A lot of that old Cure, old music from the Cure from the 80s. Robert Smith and Pearl Thompson. That was all. Most of that was Boss choruses, particularly the Dimension C. It's one reason why Boss decided to do a Wazacraft version of it. Doc Amos Roxy says, RGD, hello from the Buckeye State. Hello, Doc Amos Roxy. Hello from the Hoosier State. My current location. I'm originally from Texas, though. So you guys keep in mind that I'm originally from Texas when you see me making fun of somebody with a southern accent coming up in a video in a couple of weeks. So, I got the blinky thing going on the camera. Blinky battery thing. That ain't good. Alrighty, I'm going to see if I can't answer just a couple of more questions here before my battery dies, and then I think that's going to be it for this live stream here today, folks. Serenity Guitar says, has anyone tried the old Ibanez Art 300 Cayman-looking guitar? I remember we sold those new when I was at the store, and they were pretty cool. Big Cole says, your hammer reminds me of the Bird of Prey. Yeah, the Bird of Prey was that a DBZ guitar? Yeah, I've heard that from a couple of people. They're kind of similar, kind of. Anyone know a good neck pickup to match a Holy Diver bridge for 80s metal? Ooh. I'd probably go with a jet. Yep, we're done.